Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Go ahead, you can ask whatever you want to start with.
About a year ago, I tried to do a past life regression and I wasn't able to do it. And the guy was absolutely amazed because he'd never had anyone who didn't regress or anything. And I was wondering if you have any idea why I couldn't do it.
Sure. Let me start with that. You never really kind of went under for the regression. Yeah. That's what it feels like. The issue is more there. You just have a strong defense against it. More like feels like you're trying to figure out what part of yourself or what part of your mind it is. But your conscious mind is a little bit reluctant to let go of the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And just basically just put up a barricade. You weren't as available for hypnotic suggestion as most people are.
Yeah.
It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's just like a strong defense mechanism.
Okay. Oh, it's great that you picked something up. I was kind of scared maybe you wouldn't be able to read me because I think I'm quite I've been to psychics who have been absolutely incredible, but yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So with the Akashic records, do I have a soul purpose?
Yeah, sure. Let's go see what it is.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Okay, I feel two things there. Are you an artist of any kind? Do you do any kind of art? Or do you want to do any kind of art?
No, I don't. I want to do photography and writing.
Yeah.
I have a dream of starting a blog.
Yeah. So, okay. So the two things that I'm feeling are, the first one is, and I'll have to explore the two of them separately because they're totally different things. The first one is some kind of there's some pain that wants to be resolved in this life. It's like an emotional pain. It's just based on a belief that isn't, well, it's a false belief. It feels like it feels like it could, rather than having been something that is generated specifically from you, it feels like it could have come from maybe either your parents' generation or your grandparents' generation. And it's just it's almost like those family legacy wounds that is getting part of your purpose is to clean up that wound, to help resolve it. And I can go deeper into that one if you want. And then the other one that I was feeling is a very strong artist feeling, a very strong. And it's interesting you said photography because it was feeling visual arts rather than, music or something like that. It's feeling very visual. But I just see you a studio and being very, very artistically fulfilled and very creatively fulfilled.
So do you know what the emotional wound is at all?
Yeah, let me feel into it. Do any of your grandparents have anything to do with the Holocaust?
Yeah. So it's not 100% confirmed exactly, but my great uncle worked with Hitler to develop the Schlieffen Plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like it has to do with that. And let me is it okay if I go in for just more information?
Yeah, please. I'd love that. Thank you.
It feels like a little bit of a mess of perceptions that are just wanting your role. Really, it feels like is to bring light to it. And by light, I mean love and grace and forgiveness and empathy and compassion and understanding. And while at the same time, that sort of balance between respecting and or recognizing what has been, but also not letting it mean anything about you moving forward. And it feels like there's this strange duality of energy where on one hand there's like a dirty shame feeling because of that association, but on the other hand, like almost a refusal to really look at it or acknowledge it. And there's kind of this adherence to like, this is the way things are supposed to be. And it feels like it's very much like very structured, very linear. Like we don't go outside of these boxes that are, you know, of like what's the proper way to be, and sort of very much holding on to that like sense of properness as like a badge of honor to compensate for that sort of it feels like an
imbalance.
And so like there's this strong adherence to that to compensate for this other energy of I'm trying to find the right words to really describe it. It's like,
I think I understand though.
Yeah, okay. Because it's a very subtle, strange, specific energy. But anyway, so basically it feels like I don't know so much for your parents so much. I can feel it there, but it feels like maybe more of your grandparents, but it's all mixed together, are still to a large extent are really not wanting to look more, and any more deep. And so they're really adhering to this way that you're supposed to be in order to be proper and successful. And you're sort of you're not supposed to necessarily blow that all up in a really like, you know, wildly rebellious way. It's more like you just quietly declare that you don't subscribe to that and you live differently, is what it feels like. And just with lots of compassion, it brings a lot of healing to your lineage. So it doesn't just keep getting sort of passed down. And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I've got 2 older sisters.
Okay. Do they have children?
No, not yet.
Do you think any of you will have children?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. So it really is to like help. Sometimes if a family isn't really going to be having more children, it's just to like, you know, round off. So those edges are gone. But in this case, it does feel like it's not, I just didn't want to impose on you in case you don't feel like you want.
No, don't worry.
It's just so that it doesn't keep passing on that kind of like shame that's unacknowledged that gets into like bizarre expectations that are very rigid.
Oh my gosh, that it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. We're all very geared towards living very properly. That's even this morning I was just kind of arguing with my mom about it. Speaking about my sisters, actually, I've got a question about my middle sister. So I'm the youngest and she's the middle one, and I've had she really tormented me growing up. Really, like, I've been to therapists and stuff. There was like, you know, some like quite a lot of emotional abuse, and she is very troubled. And I was just wondering if she has kind of any purpose in my life, or if maybe she was in a past life or something. I was wondering.
What's your relationship like now?
It's difficult. She's not difficult. I'm extremely triggered by her constantly, and I'm still at home. I'm still at university. She is still at home as well. So it's very hate-filled. It's a very hate-filled relationship. But she has the same relationship with a lot of the other family members. I think she has like maybe some like aggression issues, or I don't know, but I'm incredibly triggered by her, like every moment. And I know that a lot of it is irrational and because of things that happened in the past. But I just feel so much like anxiety and hatred for her. And I guess I just wonder if maybe I knew why she was in my life, maybe it would help me.
Of course, yeah. I think this is one where we're just going to have to sort of talk it out, because I can connect to the dynamic, but it's really hard to get to the bottom of it, because it feels like it almost feels like a little bit like a Tasmanian devil amount of like
rambunctious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
hard to cut through that.
Yeah. I feel like I don't think it's a personal thing, because she really is like that with the rest of the family members as well. But I think being the youngest, I've always bared the brunt of it the most, because she's been able to do things to me in private without, and then, you know, my other family members kind of wouldn't believe me. And yeah, I guess I was just wondering, maybe maybe she was my torturer in a past life, or something. But
it actually, we'll see as we keep talking about it. But initially, like what I was trying to, because I mean, I feel strongly that there's a middle child syndrome there too, but I'm sure you explored that with your therapist. Like that's probably not new news.
Yeah.
I was trying to go deeper, but I don't really feel, to be honest, a strong
That's quite nice
between the two of you. It feels
that's really, really nice
that you happen to be in the same family together.
Oh God, that feels
like the anger is generating from her, and I can't, because I'm not doing a reading for her. I'm limited in what I can.
Yeah.
But
that's really nice to know.
Yeah, it feels like she's in quite a lot of pain, and
yeah,
there does feel like I don't think that it's probably all from this life, but it does feel like maybe something happened when she was really little. That
interesting.
Do you think there's any possibility that she might have been like potentially molested or abused by a family member, a family friend?
I can't.
No, so you're the youngest, so you weren't alive for some.
Yeah, I wasn't alive for, and we haven't had. Actually, you know what? We don't have a lot of outside family or family friends. We've moved around a lot. My dad's brother is a weird man, and I've always had my weird suspicions about him. That was when we were living in the States. I mean, potentially.
It feels like that might not be it. That might just be the way that my psyche is interpreting this information. But it feels like part of what is behind her aggression and her anger and her is that something happened and she feels completely thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Like completely, like she told somebody and it wasn't believed, or it was believed and she was told, like, you know, well, like it was put to it doesn't feel like it was ongoing for a long period of time, but it's like whatever incident it was, like even if she told, even like I'm kind of seeing like if she told your mom, for example, and your mom just said, oh, there's nothing we can do about it because it's important in some way, and it resulted in her feeling very.
And this is definitely when she was very young, right?
She was very young, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got no idea about that, but that definitely makes me think. Yeah, wow. Thank you. Yeah, because she had a lot of aggression issues when she was younger as well, and I guess something like that could make sense. I mean, I could always maybe ask her about it one day, but I'm not sure if it's even something she'd remember.
Yeah, that's it. She also might not remember it at this point. It might just be a feeling, like an overall feeling of resentment and anger to everybody.
Yeah.
She can't put her finger on.
Yeah. Wow.
And almost like so angry that everybody's keeping up this bullshit charade of a normal life or something.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's pretty intense, but it really doesn't. I don't feel any karmic connections between the two of you. What I can feel is like there are things that you've like gotten kind of like you've gained through it. For example, like much more compassion and empathy for other people who are, you know, feeling victimized and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't feel like that was like a lesson that you had to learn, and she was
it just learning it. Okay, well that's quite comforting, but that's really eye-opening as well. Thank you. Do you know if there are, what do you think? Gosh, just so exciting. By the way, you're beautiful. You're absolutely gorgeous.
Thank
you. Do I have any like soul contracts or anything like that?
Sure. So what I do feel a soul contract with a man that it feels like he's not quite in your life yet, or not quite to the extent that he will be, but it feels like a nice soul contract.
Ooh.
Like just a prearranged, meeting kind of from the soul level.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel a soul contract with your parents, but it's mainly insofar as you
My mom
agreed to come be their daughter, and that there's some, the sort of regular ensuing like tensions and whatever that comes through. You feel a strong one to your mom?
Yeah, I feel a really strong one with my mom. Yeah.
Is it a tension one?
No. It's growing up, it's probably a tension one, but now it's a much more kind of sisterly. I feel very protective.
That's nice. It feels like you might have come through with a connection to your mom and to your mom's mom. Did you know your maternal grandmother? Did you get to meet her?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay. It feels like a continuation of that line. Like you came through more from the maternal, like your mom's line, if that makes sense. That's nice.
Lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, actually, my mom really, really loved her mom and misses her so much. And she lost her at quite a young age. I think she was like 25. And I haven't experienced a lot of deaths, but I've experienced kind of people coming through during readings or little spooky shadows in the night who I just kind of know who they are. But I've never felt anything from my mom's mom, and neither has my mom. Like light candles at midnight. Do you know if she watches out?
Okay.
Is that something you're able to? Sorry, I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah, so I can do mediumship. It's not my strongest point. So if I don't pick up on her, that doesn't mean that she's not there. But I do often.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
We'll give it a try.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
It feels like so the way that it kind of shows itself to me is that there's like these different layers of, or levels of planes of consciousness or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And it feels like she's quite
far out. Yeah.
She's gone quite far up.
Yeah.
That often does happen when somebody's been passed away for a long time, but it also feels too like from her perspective, her soul consciousness is kind of on to the next thing, but I don't.
That's what I. Yeah. That's what I thought. Well, that's what I thought. That because it feels like I don't feel. Yeah. And I don't think my mom's ever felt her around either. Yeah. Whereas like my grandpa, even though I'm not really close to him and I don't really know him at all, I've definitely felt him around.
Right.
Oh, that's super interesting. Thank you.
Nope. And it's not a reflection of her like not caring enough to stay.
No. That's just her soul, isn't it?
Yeah, and from her vantage point, like time means nothing. So
yeah,
actually, it feels like the blink of an eye has passed.
Yeah,
and that you'll all be, interacting at that level again, like from her perspective. So yeah,
that's amazing. Ooh, it's hard to think what to ask. There's like so much. Do you know how there's this is kind of more like general, but how there's this kind of feeling that like the collective consciousness is really rising. Is part of our soul purpose to try and become like more conscious or to help the world in any way through that? Or
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So what I've received from what's going on right now is that there are many of us here that have come with a higher level of consciousness, and whether that, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term starseed or not.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people are starseeds and some people aren't necessarily, but they have come in with like like not as much of the amnesia, with a higher access to who they really are. And it's because it's this kind of strange point in the story, this waking dream that we're all participating in, to feel a greater separation between the light and the dark, which has been all like enmeshed together, and for souls to choose the trajectory that they want to go on henceforth, whether it's more down the road. And the dark just kind of really means like free will. And when we're talking about dark, it's like free will taken to a very strong extreme, where it's like, often like with no regard to the effect that it has on others. And the light is more like sort of, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not giving up free will. There's a different word, but it's like relinquishing a little bit of it in favor of like what is best for the collective, and understanding that we don't lose our individuality in the collective. And so a lot of us here who are very awake, we're trying, well, our intention is to to tip the scale so that we can give more opportunity to people who aren't quite as conscious to know that they can go in that direction if they choose to. Yeah.
Do you know if there's any way that I can, because I'm so interested in everything and I'm really open to it, but I do feel like there's a part of my head which, like, even when I try to do that regression, it's just so solid. There's just such a block between what I want to receive. And do you know if there's anything that I can do that isn't like taking psychedelics to like maybe help me wake up a little more?
Sure. That's a great question.
Thank you.
So it feels like, it's so interesting because when you first asked me that question, I should have said it back then so that it would feel extra impressive and relevant now. But the reason I was feeling that strong defense is because I was feeling, but I just didn't want to freak you out. I was feeling like a memory, and I couldn't quite pinpoint where it was from, or just like an experience of being like reclined and somebody else in a position of power is over top of you and hurting you. And it could just have been your sister. And so you have this strong defense, like you hypnosis isn't a great one for you because you have that mechanism that's like, don't lose consciousness because you don't know what they're going to do if you're not there, So, and that's okay. Like, just allow your psyche to maintain that function. Other alternatives. So it's just it's sort of reframing your beliefs a little bit so that you understand that doesn't mean that you're blocked at all. It means that avenue doesn't feel safe for your neural pathways, and that, there's no need to force it. So, but that it doesn't mean that you're blocked. And in fact, you're quite open. I'm getting that you receive quite a lot already anyway. And part of it,
I just don't notice.
Yeah, because it's so subtle that you're kind of, it's easy to just let it. It's not even like, some people I can see that they talk themselves out of it right away. Like, that was just nothing. For you, it doesn't really feel like that. It's more like you just don't notice because that's just experience, and you don't have anything else to compare it to. So you sort of take it for granted as not anything special. But you have, I'm seeing like you have quite a lot of openness. And for example, one of the things I'm seeing is you can really connect with other people's energy, and you can kind of like, hear what they're not saying, and you can feel what they're feeling, and like you're quite good at that. And you also tend to feels like you have a very open energy where you can sometimes get your energy like a little bit mixed up with other people's easily.
I feel that a lot, like affected by my sister sometimes, because I can just be in a room facing a wall and she can walk in and not say anything, and I just feel like all the just like depression and anger just floods the room, and it just like floods me. I feel it so much.
And especially when you've been at the wrong end of that, like at the receiving end of that. That's very, very hard. It really embeds something in your, like, you know, your fight and flight pathway.
Yeah.
It's very tricky to rework that. It also feels like you travel at night. Do you ever have dreams that when you wake up, you're like, oh, that was really cool. I kind of feel like I went somewhere.
You know what? No. Well, sometimes I do. Even now. So I don't talk about it so much because it scares me so much. But over a year ago, I went through a very serious phase of insomnia. Like very, very, very serious. Like they gave me everything. They ended up giving me, they tried every sleeping pill on me. Nothing worked. This went for like 3-4 weeks straight. They ended up giving me this stuff. Oh, I forgot what it's called, but they give it to you before minor surgeries to knock you out. And even that didn't do anything to me. And like, I'm 5'2", I'm like just over 100 pounds. Like I'm a small girl. And so talking about sleep, even to this day, it sometimes scares me because this is a good question as well, actually, maybe for later, but whether that period was just because of like horrendous anxiety that I was getting at the time, or I don't know, maybe something else. But I don't usually remember my dreams, no.
Okay.
But I have been sleeping really well for like the past few months, and ever since basically what happened like over a year ago, that stopped. So
that's good.
I asked, this is what really solidified my, not obviously I believe in everything, but back then I didn't as much. And I kind of broke down one day on my own and I started writing to like my spirit guides or anyone I was listening. I was like, if you don't help me, like I'm not going to be able to go on. And then, sorry, I get so emotional talking about it still, because then after that it stopped. And it's so amazing. And I still say thank you all the time just to the sky, because it's honestly, there's nothing, like I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy, to go weeks and weeks in like a zombie-like state with constant headaches. It was awful. And I really think, I'm so certain that my spirit guides were listening and did something to help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they absolutely did. That's so interesting. If it's okay, I want to look into that, but I won't.
Please, I would love.
Yeah, I want to finish the question too about what.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Do you have any fear around experiencing something that you can't handle in terms of like being awake and highly conscious to, you know, like spirit or evidence of spirit or that kind of stuff?
I watched a lot of horror movies growing up, a lot of demon movies.
Yeah, I knew it.
And I'm scared of demons. Yes. Absolutely. I don't know if they're real. I don't want to know. But I'm very scared that I'm not going to get a friendly ghost. I'm going to get like an entity that, yeah.
Okay, this is all entangled together. So it's so interesting that you then like, went on to talk about that experience you had with the sleep and the insomnia. So the first number one thing is that you, like I said, you feel very open. You feel like you experience a lot that you're just not noticing really as like, you know, being unique and special. And so the encouragement that your guides is just to like care, like just try and notice it more, and like the more you put attention on it. So when you get excited about it or celebrate it, the whole point of that energy is because you sort of juice it up with an emotion, and then it like amplifies. It becomes that much more vivid and tangible. And that's kind of the way manifestation works, is like our attention on something, especially coupled with like an emotional charge behind it, makes it like even more like hyper defined, like high definition, technicolor. So they're just saying to sort of like give those things notice as much as possible. And it's not like they would disappear if you didn't. It's more like if you want to experience more of it, you do. And they're also saying too that it's also just an unfolding process as well, though, like that, like you're getting it in measured doses so that it doesn't completely blow your mind and like render you incapable of functioning as a human on earth. So it'll just keep opening up and expanding and unfolding. I feel like carries on. And then the other thing is, so it's so interesting that you said demon, because I knew that's what you were afraid of. And there's a lot there, and it feels like it also comes from past lives. And but also that, like, how do I put this? I don't want to scare you. So you have experienced a demon.
Oh my God, I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
and your sister has one too. There's an attachment on her that's keeping her.
Wait, the middle one?
Yeah. And so it's the demon didn't, maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. What it looks like to me is more like something happened. I'm not sure if it's molestation, but it's something that would have that level of impact on a little child. And
to me or to
your sister. And it's something that would result in her feeling very betrayed, very unsafe, very angry at the people that were to keep her safe, that kind of thing. And then, then it kind of twisted her perception of the world, and an attachment found her, call it a demon, found her anger, found her sadness, and is now parasiting off of her and keeping her stuck in the same loops of repeating thoughts that keep those emotions running and those chemicals flowing, and it feeds off of that energy. And then there's also, so you already have one in your proximity, which is partly why it's so triggering too, because you can kind of just sense that it's there, not just a person.
No. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And then it also feels like prior to the insomnia, something happened where you experienced a demon, and it scared the crap out of you so much that you were, this feels like the exact same defense mechanism that wouldn't let you go under hypnosis. Like, it wouldn't let you go to sleep.
I think this was quite a long time ago though.
Okay.
The only time that I can remember something like that happening, I was about 16. I'm 22 now, but I had taken a psychedelic 2 weeks before. And then this one night I had this horrible, the only thing that I thought that it was like a flashback. I thought it was something to do with the drug I had taken a couple weeks prior. And I don't know, maybe if this is it, but I had this one night of sleep paralysis, and I've never had it since. And I changed room because I was like, it's to do with the room, where this thing was writing in blood on the wall, naked photos of me, saying that it was going to show my family and all this weird stuff, and it absolutely terrified me. I'm not sure if it's that though, because that could well have just been the drugs. But other than that, I can't really remember experiencing anything that like a demon. Can you pick up at all when, or no? Or
try. Yeah, for sure.
I'd be so interested. Thank you.
So it's so hard when I get like dark information.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm so reluctant to share it because I don't want to cause any fear.
No, because a lot of the fear is kind of already there underlying, and bringing light to it. Already you saying that I've experienced it, I know I've always just thought that it's been me and I'm just making things up, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's real. And so what I'm seeing is there's a connection with a past life that you had where you were institutionalized in, like, you were given the diagnosis of some kind of like hysteria or female insanity, and you were institutionalized, and this was being triggered by your sister, which is why it feels so deep, but it has nothing to do with her. It doesn't. But so basically what I'm seeing is you when they would come get you from your cell and take you to the room and strap you down to the table and inject you with a sedative and then do experiments on your body. And some of them would be for scientific advancement.
Oh my God, I've had an absolute fear, like a deep-seated, like if someone tells me they have a hernia, I think I'm gonna throw up. Like the thought of, I've always had an absolute fear of like operations, anyone doing anything, anything to do with my organs. I just like,
because in your situation, because you were, you know, like in that, it feels like kind of Victorian, maybe earlier, I'm not sure, but like somewhat modern still. And they, you know, if you were committed because you were to an asylum because you were insane, and I don't think
they were allowed to do like,
they had nobody to answer to, so they could just do whatever they wanted. And it feels like you also experienced sexual abuse under those, and it was just, they just, with people, they would just do whatever they wanted. And it was really a horrible nightmare, and there was demonic consciousness involved to
100%
to do that kind of stuff, right? So that is underlying a lot of the anxiety that you feel, and that absolute resistance to like even a sedative that would normally put somebody under for an operation. Your psyche was I don't care. I'm not going to sleep. But it was also because there was, so it's a little bit hard to understand even for me, but the demonic presence that you experienced with the psychedelics, so you already had an opening in your psyche because you had experienced all that. And because you just, without even realizing it, you had the proximity to the one that's attached to your sister. And it's actually quite common. It's just like souls that often lived as humans, that when the human died, they didn't want to go back to the light because they didn't believe that they could be redeemed or whatever. They wanted to avoid punishment, but they need they need a host because they don't have a body anymore, and they kind of want to perpetuate all of the vices. And so you had an awareness of the one attached to your sister, and the one that you encountered with the psychedelics was real, because when anybody, you know, uses alcohol or drugs or whatever,
and I did a lot when I was younger,
it creates an opening for them, because you semi-vacate your body, and so they can just, or your energy field is a better way to put it. They it's like just leaving all your doors open and unlocked in like the scariest neighborhood. So one did come and hang out, and that's what you encountered, and it didn't really have a lot to feed off of from you, so it didn't really do anything for a while. But it was just in your general, it feels like it wasn't even fully attached, but it was like it had you on the shelf as like a potential, if that makes sense. So
that does make sense.
And then I can't quite see what triggered it prior to the insomnia, but something triggered your awareness of it. So it's not like it was there, or maybe you just sensed it. Maybe it came back to kind of see where you were at now and see if you were available, and you just sensed it, and it did something to trigger. And it feels like there was something in your life that triggered it too, triggered that the vulnerability where your psyche was like, constant vigilance, I am not shutting down, I can't, like
it interestingly, the thing that triggered it, which sounds like the most mundane thing, I got on to an internship with an investment bank, and I was extremely stressed. And from day one of the internship, that's when it started. And I don't know if it was just like, but actually prior to that, a couple years prior to that, between the ages of about like 18 to 20, I suffered like a really severe depression and eating disorder. I was not like fully anorexic, but pretty anorexic between those ages. So I don't know if maybe it was like hanging around there, then like sucking the life out of me, maybe then. But then when I kind of like snapped out of it, if you will, because it only lasted about a year, but then even after that, it's been kind of a few years of like working through like depression and anxiety and stuff. So I don't know if maybe that was something to do with it.
And at the bank, the investment bank internship, was there one, but it really feels like two men that also like just you were uncomfortable around, that they were intimidating and you didn't like being around them?
Oh, there were a lot of There are a lot of those. There are a lot of those. Yeah. A lot of extremely intimidating men kind of doing the internship with me and hosting it.
Were there one or two that stood out to you?
I can't really, no, not particularly, no.
Okay. For some reason, I'm just feeling too that kind of were like had a strong, I don't know, just
aggression.
Yeah, or some like, I don't know. It's hard to, it's a strong aggression, but like they had extra, they had extra darkness themselves. Like,
yeah.
Extra, lack of giving a crap about anybody's life or
experience. I thought that was just the culture of the bank.
Yeah. It is the culture of the bank. It's funny you say that you got that internship, because that's not your world at all, as I feel.
No.
Your world, it feels like you're a city girl, but it's like it feels like a lot of space around you within the city nonetheless. So I don't know what city it would be in particular, but it does feel like one of the bigger cities. But it like, again, I just see you being like artistic and freelancing and like having all.
Oh my gosh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, definitely. I don't see you at all working within somebody else's construct of like a job.
Time. Yeah. Okay. Oh gosh, that's so interesting. And the demon's gone. Is it gone?
I guess we should figure that out, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you asked your spirit guides and like the skies and anybody, basically what you did was you opened up to, without necessarily saying those words specifically, you opened up to like God energy, like the light energy. And amazingly, it has the ability to, it's almost like it puts this slippery coat of like white light around you that they can't latch onto anymore, and they just slide off. And so moving forward, so all of that stuff that you've been through, all of the depression, the anxiety, for sure, the banking world is not your world. All of that stuff is not yours. It's not your stuff. It's stuff that exists in the world around you, in the context around you, but you aren't supposed to carry it. You are not supposed to fit in that world. And whenever you feel, because you're still quite young yet, so whenever you feel any of that, like say for example, well, when you had the eating disorder, what was at the real crux of it? What was the feeling that you were trying to?
I was at boarding school. I was thinking of asking this, but then I wasn't sure. I had a retinal inflammatory disease in my left eye. It started when I was about 16 actually, where it's kind of like macular degeneration. I just have these spots in my left eye, and it's all stable now. But that was happening, and I was on a lot of medication. I was on steroids. I was on immune suppressants. I wasn't able to take my exams. I felt really, and just as well at boarding school, I was bullied quite a bit because I just didn't really fit in, because I haven't lived in the UK my whole life. And I guess when I had the eating disorder, especially at school, it really helped me in a lot of ways, because it sounds so bad, but I got to leave school early. I didn't have to board there anymore. I could come home and sleep in my bed. I didn't have to sleep in my bed there. The other girls and stuff couldn't bully me anymore because I got a tiny bit chubby when I was like 15, like literally the tiniest bit. Like in the States, like you wouldn't bat an eyelash, like no offense. But at school, it was really, I don't know, people were just on the attack a lot. It was a snobby school, and people liked to put each other down. And when I had the eating disorder, it was like it was a huge protection. It was like, you can't touch me, you can't say anything to me, nothing you say can get through these walls, you know?
Okay, that's so interesting. So moving forward, whenever you're in situations that trigger those, because those will keep happening, those bullying situations will keep happening until you're able to stay in your power without having to like change what you're doing in an unhealthy way, if that makes sense. So where they're happening, you just see through them. Just know, like, this is religion. It's like, have you ever watched Harry Potter or read Harry Potter? So it's like a boggart. It's fear taking the shape of whatever it thinks will work the best on you. And you just see through it, and then it stops being able to work. And as you move forward, that those are the things that kind of like, I don't know, made you feel weaker. It didn't actually weaken you, because that's not even possible, but it made you feel weaker, and that's what opened up for attachments to come in. So moving forward, basically it's just about staying rooted in your power. And I'm not a religious person at all, but I am learning, especially this year, really the power of sort of calling on Christ consciousness as like a higher dimensional consciousness that
is light.
Yeah, it does. And it really creates that slippery light shield that nothing can latch onto. And so I don't consider myself Christian, because I don't go to church and I don't practice and I don't study the Bible or do any of those things. But whenever I'm doing a reading, I always invoke Christos as in part of my process, because I don't want to connect to any negative. And I feel like it's just as simple as so anyway, so it's gone. The demon is gone. And that's just all you have to do in order to prevent another one from coming up. But it feels like you just have a little weakness around it, or susceptibility is a better way of putting it. Because you had encountered them in a past life, and because there was a proximity to the one attached to your sister, and that just made it like real. Like
So when you mean like invoke the Christic consciousness, is there anything that I can, like affirmations, or literally just like prayer? Is that kind of what you?
Or whatever feels good for you and doesn't feel, because it's so attached to like the Christian religion, and so whatever doesn't feel like that for you, unless you are a Christian and you love it, in which case do it that way. But
no, I'm not.
It's more just like, so for me, my understanding of the figure that we call Jesus is that was a higher dimensional being from a different, like, in my understanding, Jesus was a starseed from a different dimension, a different planetary system that had already gone through all of this before, and so could see it for what it was, and see all of the illusions, and that consciousness came to Earth to try and shed some light, and unfortunately was not well received by the powers that be at the time, but nonetheless left a legacy of many people kind of being able to tap into that. And right now, part of this craziness that's coming to a head in 2020 and 2021 is sort of the return of Christ consciousness, but en masse. And all it really means is like people who truly just love, like they can find the love within them easily, even when somebody like is insisting that they wear masks all the time and is freaking out and losing their mind over it, and wanting to vote for the candidate that does not, is opposite to what we would vote for, is that you still feel, you're like, but you're still my brother, you're still my sister, and we just have different perspectives, but I love you, and that nothing changes that. Whenever we can stay centered in that, that's invoking Christ consciousness, and then attachments just can't, there's nothing to stick to.
That's incredible.
Feel like crap. Really.
Yeah. So I really love Dr. Joe Dispenza. Do you know? Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I love him. I've read all of his books. I try his meditations. Obviously, meditation and hypnosis movie isn't my thing. But I was wondering if you know if my eye condition is anything that I would be able to self-heal.
Okay, yeah. Let me see.
Thank you.
Yes, it feels like it very much is. It feels like it's not here for, sometimes people develop conditions because their soul is wanting to learn something through that condition, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like literally you and everyone else, but for you, I feel very clearly like so much of this is that you have these really intense beliefs imposed on you, and you're actually a very sensitive being, and you've adopted these beliefs in a very trusting way, and it's a whole series of beliefs about like who you get to be and properness and like so much of that, and it's really like strangely, even though it seems totally indirect, your eye is also a manifestation of that. Like it's almost like your task is to do an inventory of everything that you believe. And which is a little tricky because a lot of the beliefs are subconscious, and they're so subconscious that we just take them for granted as fact rather than totally subjective beliefs. But just over time, just taking inventory of the things that you believe, the things that you hear yourself saying to yourself, and then really, really deciding, like, does this match me or not? And everything that doesn't, just get rid of it, because it just feels like you're so sensitive that it's coming across that the condition with your eye is a manifestation of the wrong fit between a series of beliefs and your actual energy. And so it's kind of like sending some of your cells off in a weird direction where they're not forming properly. But to take Joe Dispenza's approach and just visualize your eye healing and know that that's totally possible, it feels like that will work.
Oh, amazing. That's really amazing. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Do you have one more question?
I don't think I do, actually. I think you've really, really shone a lot of light. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely eye-opening and amazing. Oh, I guess this is maybe not so much a question just for me, but do you have any advice for kind of like connecting to your spirit guides? It's kind of similar to my question about how to make myself more open, but I guess any like physical things that I could do?
Really, it's just about, so have you ever had a friendship with anybody and like you want to give them advice, but they're not asking for the advice, and so you try to give it to them, they're not going to hear it anyway? That's what your guides are doing 100% of the time. They really want to ask. They're so excited when you ask. So really, as you saw when you wrote the letter, all you have to do is ask them and talk to them. And you can ask for, like, you can start to set up your own sort of language and communication method. So for example, you could start playing with like picking something that would be a sign for you and just say, like, show yourself to me today as a monarch butterfly or whatever thing resonates with you, and something that it's not super likely that you'd encounter it, but and then just keep your eyes open for that. But it just sort of builds like that. Like it's like shooting a snowball. Like you kind of just start where you are, but the more you do it, the more it builds. And apart from that, like that's just all I can give is the starting point, because it'll take whichever direction actually suits your natural gifts and their natural tendencies for how they communicate.
Okay. Well, gosh, Amy, thank you so much. It's been so amazing to meet you and to have this chat. Yeah, and I'm 1,000% sure that I will book another in like a month or something.
Oh, exciting! It was so nice.
That was incredible.
Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.